The crisp autumn air held a hint of excitement for Sarah. She wasn't one for grand gestures or flashy clothes. Her joy came from simple pleasures. Today, that pleasure was a delicious meal at the Gilded Spoon, a restaurant she'd heard whispers about for weeks. It was a rather fancy place, known for its sparkling chandeliers and waiters in crisp uniforms, but Sarah felt a flutter of anticipation, not nerves. She had saved a little extra this month, a small treat for herself after long hours spent quietly working. Dressed in her favorite sensible skirt and a cozy, well-loved sweater, Sarah pushed open the heavy oak door. The scent of roasted herbs and something sweet and creamy wafted towards her, making her stomach grumble happily. Her eyes, usually soft and observant, widened slightly as she took in the opulent decor. Gold trim adorned the walls, and the tables were set with gleaming silverware that caught the light. It was all very grand, a world away from her small, comfortable home. A tall, stern-looking man in a dark suit, who seemed to be the host, stood by a velvet rope. He glanced at Sarah, his gaze lingering on her simple attire, a faint frown creasing his brow. Sarah, however, was too busy marveling at the beautiful flower arrangements to notice his disapproval. She offered him a small, polite smile, her heart full of the simple hope for a lovely evening and a good meal. All she wanted was a quiet corner and a plate of whatever delightful dish was making the air smell so wonderful. As Sarah smiled politely at the host, her gaze still wandering happily around the grand room, the host's frown deepened. He wasn't smiling back. Instead, he signaled discreetly to a man standing near the back, who was even more stern-looking. This was Mr. Davies, the restaurant manager, a man who prided himself on the Gilded Spoon's exclusive atmosphere. Mr. Davies walked over, his eyes quickly assessing Sarah from her sensible shoes to her soft, faded sweater. He saw a woman who looked out of place among the crisp linen tablecloths and sparkling crystal. To him, her simple clothes spoke of someone who couldn't possibly afford the prices, let alone understand the refined dining experience they offered. He imagined her taking up a table that a more suitable customer might want, someone who would spend more money and add to the restaurant's image of luxury. "Good evening," Mr. Davies said, his voice smooth but cold, without a hint of warmth. "May I help you?" Sarah, finally tearing her eyes away from a particularly beautiful painting, turned to face him fully. "Yes, please," she replied, her voice gentle. "A table for one, if possible. I'm so looking forward to trying your famous crème brûlée." The manager exchanged a quick, knowing look with the host. A table for one, dressed like that, just for dessert? Nice. It confirmed their unspoken thoughts. She simply didn't belong. In their minds, her presence would somehow dim the restaurant's sparkle. They had already decided. Mr. Davies took a step closer, his voice dropping to a low, firm tone that still managed to carry an unmistakable chill. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he began, though his words held no real apology. "We have a rather strict dress code here at the Gilded Spoon. It's an establishment that caters to a certain clientele, and we maintain a specific atmosphere." His eyes swept over her sweater and skirt again, making it clear that she did not meet their specific atmosphere requirements. Sarah's polite smile faltered. Her heart, which had been so full of happy anticipation just moments before, began to feel a little heavy. She looked down at her clothes, then back at the manager. "Oh, I didn't realize," she said softly, a blush creeping up her neck. "I just wanted a nice dinner." Quote, "Yes, well, a nice dinner here requires a bit more formality," Mr. Davies stated, his voice now even more clipped. He gestured vaguely towards the door. "I'm afraid we cannot accommodate you this evening. Perhaps you could find a more suitable establishment down the street." He didn't offer to help her find another place, he simply wanted her gone. The host, who had been hovering nearby, stepped forward slightly, ready to open the door for her. Sarah felt a sharp sting of embarrassment. To be told so bluntly, so rudely, that she wasn't good enough, right there in front of everyone, was a shock. The beautiful restaurant suddenly felt cold and unwelcoming. Her excitement vanished, replaced by a growing ache in her chest. She had done nothing wrong, yet she was being treated like an unwanted guest. There was no point in arguing. The message was clear. With a heavy heart and a face flushed with shame, Sarah turned from the manager and walked slowly towards the door. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if she were dragging her disappointment behind her. The host quickly opened the door, a movement that felt less like an act of service and more like a hurried dismissal. The grand restaurant, which moments ago had promised a delightful evening, now seemed to shrink behind her, its warmth replaced by a biting cold that seeped into her very bones. As the heavy oak door clicked shut behind her, Sarah stepped back out into the cool autumn evening. The crisp air, which had earlier filled her with excitement, now felt sharp and unwelcoming against her cheeks. She pulled her sweater tighter, not just against the chill but against the sting of rejection. Her eyes welled up, but she blinked quickly, trying to hold back the tears. It wasn't fair. She hadn't bothered anyone, hadn't caused any trouble. All she had wanted was a quiet meal, a small joy after a long week. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses seemed to mock her from inside the restaurant. She walked away quickly, her head down, hoping no one else had witnessed her humiliation. The fancy lights of the street seemed too bright, too harsh, reflecting her feeling of being exposed and judged. The delicious smells that had once beckoned her now seemed to follow, a cruel reminder of the dinner she wouldn't have. Sarah just wanted to be home, away from the judging eyes and the coldness of a world that cared more about appearances than about people. As Sarah walked home, the chill of the evening air slowly replaced the heat of her embarrassment. Her sadness began to mix with a quiet resolve. What those men at the Gilded Spoon didn't know, couldn't possibly guess from her simple sweater and kind smile, was the truth about her. Sarah wasn't just a quiet woman who enjoyed simple pleasures. She was also a brilliant businesswoman. For years, Sarah had worked tirelessly, building her own company from a small idea into a huge success. She had a sharp mind for numbers and an even sharper eye for opportunity. While she preferred to live a modest life, enjoying nature and her books more than fancy parties, her bank account told a very different story. She owned several thriving businesses, managed many investments, and was known in certain circles as a shrewd but fair negotiator. Her wealth was substantial, hidden behind her unassuming manner, a secret she kept because she valued honesty and hard work above flashy displays. The very restaurant that had just turned her away? Sarah knew quite a bit about it. She regularly read financial reports about local businesses, always looking for smart investments. She knew the Gilded Spoon was beautiful, yes, but it wasn't doing as well as it looked. It was actually struggling, losing money slowly because of its old-fashioned ways and its snobby attitude. The manager, Mr. Davies, was too focused on appearances and not enough on making customers truly happy. Little did he know, the woman he had just kicked out was exactly the kind of person who could see both the problems and the hidden potential of his failing restaurant. That night, instead of dwelling on the hurtful experience, Sarah found her thoughts turning to numbers and possibilities. The rude treatment at the Gilded Spoon had been unpleasant, yes, but it had also shown her something important. The restaurant had a beautiful space and a good location, but its management was clearly failing. Its snobbishness was driving customers away, and its financial reports, which Sarah had quietly studied, confirmed it was ripe for change. As she sipped her evening tea, a bold idea began to form in her clever mind. Why simply forget the bad experience when she could turn it into something good? She saw the potential for a truly wonderful restaurant there, one that offered great food in a welcoming space, not just a fancy one. She could keep the beautiful chandeliers and the elegant decor, but she would add warmth and kindness, making it a place where everyone felt comfortable. The next morning, Sarah began to make calls. Her team of financial advisors, used to her sudden but always brilliant ideas, quickly started looking into the ownership of the Gilded Spoon. It didn't take long to find out that the current owners were indeed looking to sell, desperate to offload a business that was sinking. Sarah moved swiftly and silently, like she always did when making a big deal. She saw not just a restaurant but a chance to fix something broken and prove a point about respect. The idea of transforming the Gilded Spoon into a truly successful and kind establishment thrilled her. It was more than just business. It was about making things right. Weeks later, a black car, sleek and polished, pulled up to the front of the Gilded Spoon. The autumn leaves had turned to brilliant golds and reds, and a chillier wind whispered through the street. From the car stepped a woman who, at first glance, might have seemed a stranger. It was Sarah, but she looked remarkably different. Her usually soft hair was styled neatly, framing her face with a quiet elegance. She wore a tailored coat that fit her perfectly, and a scarf of fine silk. Her simple, cozy sweater was replaced by clothes that spoke of quiet power and good taste, not flashy wealth. While her outward appearance had changed, the kindness in her eyes remained, though it was now mixed with a calm, unwavering confidence. She walked towards the restaurant's heavy oak door, the very same door she had been pushed out of just a short time ago. This time, there was no hesitation in her step, no shy smile seeking approval. Her posture was straight, her shoulders back, and a faint, knowing smile played on her lips. She didn't seek to blend in. She carried an air of purpose that made her stand out. Inside, the host from before was busy seating customers. He glanced up as the door opened, ready to greet a new guest. His eyes met Sarah's, but he didn't recognize her. How could he? The quiet woman in the worn sweater was gone, replaced by someone who looked perfectly at home in a world of luxury. Sarah paused, letting her eyes sweep over the familiar, opulent interior, a small spark of triumph beginning to glow within her. She was back, but this time, things were going to be very different. The host, still unaware, approached Sarah with a polite but impersonal smile. "Good evening, madam. A table for one?" he asked, his voice professional. "Oh." Just then, Mr. Davies, the manager, emerged from his office. He stopped short when he saw Sarah, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. Something about her seemed familiar, yet he couldn't quite place it. He knew he hadn't seen this woman before. Sarah's knowing smile widened slightly. She turned directly to Mr. Davies, her eyes holding a clear, steady gaze. "Good evening, Mr. Davies," she said, her voice calm and strong. "Dub. I believe we met a few weeks ago, though I looked a little different then." Quote. Mr. Davies's eyes narrowed as a sudden, dawning horror spread across his face. He remembered the simple woman, the one he had rudely sent away. The host, standing beside him, also started to put the pieces together, his face paling. A hush fell over the small entryway as other staff members began to notice the tension. Then, Sarah delivered the news that sent a wave of shock through the entire staff. "I'm here today not as a guest, but as the new owner of the Gilded Spoon," she announced, her voice resonating with authority. "The sale was finalized this morning." The manager's jaw dropped, and the host gasped. Their faces were a mix of disbelief, fear, and utter astonishment. The elegant woman standing before them, the one they had dismissed as unsuitable, now held their future in her hands. The room suddenly felt very quiet, all eyes fixed on Sarah, who stood perfectly still, letting her words sink in. After her shocking announcement, Sarah let the silence hang in the air for a moment, allowing her words to fully sink in. Then, she addressed the stunned staff, her voice clear and steady. "I have big plans for the Gilded Spoon," she began, her gaze sweeping over their faces. "But my vision is quite different from what has been here before." She continued, "This restaurant has beautiful bones, wonderful chefs, and a great location, but it has also been a place that made people feel unwelcome if they didn't fit a certain idea of fancy. That changes today." She paused, letting her words sink in. "My goal is to make this a restaurant for times everyone, a place where the food is still wonderful, the service is excellent, but where every single person who walks through that door feels respected and truly welcome, no matter what they are wearing." Quote. Mr. Davies, still pale, tried to speak, but no words came out. The other staff members exchanged nervous glances. "We will keep the elegance, yes," Sarah explained, "but we will add warmth. We will focus on genuine hospitality, on making memories, and on creating an experience that isn't just about showing off, but about enjoying good food and good company. We will get rid of the strict dress code and the idea that only certain people belong here. This will be a place where a family celebrating a birthday feels as special as a business meeting, and a quiet person seeking a nice meal feels just as valued as a grand party." Her words painted a picture of a restaurant transformed, not just in its look, but in its very heart. After sharing her vision for a truly welcoming restaurant, Sarah turned her attention directly to Mr. Davies. His face was still pale, his usual stern expression replaced by a mix of confusion and worry. The host stood stiffly beside him, avoiding eye contact. "Mr. Davies," Sarah said, her voice firm but not unkind, "I believe we need to talk about what happened a few weeks ago. When I came here as a customer, hoping for a nice meal, I was treated very poorly because of my clothes." She paused, letting her words hang in the air, a silent reminder of his past actions. "Your behavior that evening was unacceptable. It was rude and it was wrong to judge someone based on their appearance." Quote, Mr. Davies swallowed hard, his face growing a little red. He mumbled something that sounded like an apology, though it was barely audible. Sarah continued, "In my restaurant, kindness and respect are just as important as the quality of the food. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, no matter how they are dressed or what their background is. You, especially as a manager, need to learn this lesson deeply. You need to understand that true value comes from how you treat people, not from how grand a place looks or how much money a customer seems to have." She looked him straight in the eye, her gaze unwavering. "This is a fresh start for the Gilded Spoon, and that means a fresh start for how we treat every single person who walks through our doors. If you wish to be a part of this new vision, you must change. You must learn to treat people kindly, with genuine warmth and respect, not just because it's good for business, but because it's the right thing to do." The message was clear. His job depended on a complete change of heart. After addressing Mr. Davies directly, Sarah turned to face the rest of the staff who were still gathered, listening intently. She understood that change could be scary, and she wanted to give them a chance to be part of her new vision. "To all of you," Sarah announced, her voice softening slightly but remaining clear, "I want to offer an opportunity to be part of a truly special place. We will be having training sessions not just on serving food, but on how to make every customer feel valued. We will learn how to greet people with a genuine smile, how to listen carefully to their needs, and how to create an atmosphere of real warmth." She looked at each face, making sure her message was understood. "I believe in second chances, and I believe in learning. If you are willing to learn, to grow, and to embrace this new way of thinking, then there is a place for you here. But let me be absolutely clear. Kindness is not just an option. It is the most important ingredient in our success. It is the heart of what, the Gilded Spoon, will become." Quote, Sarah explained that she wanted everyone to feel proud of working in a place known for its amazing food and times its amazing kindness. She would be bringing in new ideas for the menu and ways to make the restaurant even more beautiful and comfortable. But above all, the way they treated people would be the most important change. She wanted a team that understood that a friendly word and a welcoming spirit could be just as memorable as a delicious dish. Those who couldn't commit to this core value, she hinted gently, might not find themselves part of the new Gilded Spoon. Under Sarah's new ownership, the Gilded Spoon began to change, little by little, day by day. The strict rules about clothes vanished, and in their place came a new rule: kindness. The staff, at first a little unsure, slowly started to understand what Sarah meant. They attended training sessions where they learned to truly listen to customers and to offer help with a genuine smile. The heavy, almost scary quiet of the restaurant slowly faded away. Laughter could now be heard, not just from the diners but sometimes from the staff too. The host, who used to stand so stiffly, now greeted everyone with a warm welcome, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Waiters paid close attention to children, bringing them special small treats and making them feel important. Sarah didn't change the beautiful chandeliers or the fancy tables. Instead, she added soft, welcoming touches: fresh flowers on every table, cozy blankets for guests sitting near the windows on chilly evenings, and a small, quiet corner with books for anyone who wanted to read while they ate. The menu, while still offering amazing food, now included simpler, comforting dishes too, so there was something for every taste. The biggest change, however, was in the air itself. The feeling of being judged was gone. Instead, there was a feeling of ease, of being cared for. Families came, friends gathered, and even people dining alone felt perfectly at home. The Gilded Spoon was no longer just a fancy place. It had become a happy place, a truly friendly spot where everyone felt welcome and special. Word of the new Gilded Spoon spread quickly throughout the town. People who had once been too scared to enter, or felt they didn't belong, now eagerly made reservations. They heard tales of delicious food that still tasted fancy but felt comforting, and of staff who treated everyone like an old friend. The restaurant was no longer just for special occasions. It became a favorite spot for everyday meals and happy gatherings. Soon, the once struggling The Gilded Spoon was bustling with activity every night. The tables were always full, filled with a joyful mix of people from all walks of life. Business people in suits sat beside families celebrating birthdays, and quiet individuals enjoyed their meals without feeling out of place. The clinking of glasses and happy chatter replaced the stiff silence that used to fill the room. Sarah often walked through the dining room, her heart swelling with quiet pride. She loved seeing the smiles on people's faces, hearing their laughter, and watching her staff interact with genuine warmth. The chefs, inspired by the positive energy, created even more amazing dishes, knowing their food was truly appreciated by everyone. The Gilded Spoon became known not just for its tasty food, but for its kind heart. It was proof that a restaurant could be elegant and welcoming at the same time. Sarah's vision had come true. The restaurant, once a symbol of exclusion, was now a shining example of how treating people with respect and kindness could lead to the greatest success of all. As the Gilded Spoon bloomed under Sarah's new direction, so too did Mr. Davies change. At first, he was filled with shame and fear. He expected to be fired, or at least severely punished. But Sarah gave him a chance, and he took it. He joined the training sessions, listening quietly to Sarah's words about kindness and respect. Slowly, almost without him realizing it, the old, snobby Mr. Davies began to fade away. He watched Sarah, who still dressed simply sometimes, greeting every guest with a genuine smile and a warm word. He saw how happy the customers were, how they praised not just the food, but the wonderful feeling of the place. He even saw the host, his former partner in judging people, now truly enjoying his job as he welcomed everyone. One busy evening, as he helped a family with a crying baby find a comfortable spot, Mr. Davies felt a warmth spread through him. He offered the baby a soft napkin to play with, and saw the mother's grateful smile. In that moment, he truly understood. It wasn't about the expensive clothes or the big spenders. It was about making people feel good, feel seen, feel welcome. He realized how wrong he had been, how foolish he had been to judge Sarah and countless others based on how they looked. Sarah's actions, her quiet strength, and her unwavering belief in kindness had taught him a lesson far more valuable than any rulebook. He became a better manager, a kinder man, and a true believer in the Gilded Spoon's new, welcoming spirit. He had been humbled, and in that humility he found a new way to lead. Sarah often sat in a quiet corner of the Gilded Spoon, watching the happy bustle of her restaurant. She wasn't looking at numbers or profit margins, though those were certainly thriving. What filled her heart with true joy was seeing the genuine smiles on the faces of her guests and staff. The laughter, the easy conversations, the way everyone felt comfortable and valued. This was the real success. She saw Mr. Davies, no longer stiff and judgmental, guiding new staff members with patience and a newfound warmth. He would often catch her eye and offer a small, respectful nod, a silent acknowledgement of the profound lesson she had taught him. The host, too, greeted every person who walked through the door with a sincere welcome, remembering the sting of his past actions and ensuring no one else felt it. Sarah had proven that a business could be both successful and kind. She had shown that treating people with respect, regardless of their appearance or wealth, created a far richer experience for everyone. Her simple act of returning to a place that had rejected her, not for revenge but for transformation, had changed not only a restaurant, but also the hearts of those who worked there. As the evening wound down and the last happy customers left, Sarah would often take a moment to look around. The chandeliers still sparkled, the tables still gleamed. But now, the Gilded Spoon shone with a different kind of light, a light of kindness, warmth, and acceptance. It was a beautiful place, filled with good food and even better feelings, a living testament that kindness and respect are truly the most important ingredients in life.